It's going to be another day of extreme heat in parts of Ontario and Quebec and on east into Nova Scotia. This is where Environment Canada has issued heat alerts, you see on the map, where temperatures could reach the mid-30s and the humidex values are expected to take things into the mid-40s. We have live pictures of Montreal, big holiday across the province, Saint Jean-Baptiste Day, and that might be complicating matters because people trying to stay cool inside malls and libraries, they could be closed, but cooling centers, some of them will remain open. Again, hydration, all of that advice, the key. Well, let's get some advice from Dr. Christopher Labos, who's taking part in that holiday, but not on holiday because he's here to tell us about heat damage and heat threats. He's an epidemiologist and cardiologist, and he is in Montreal. Is it warm this morning? Sweltering this morning?
It's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there.
Then this is a very timely conversation, and thanks for coming back. I have a graphic that I'd like to begin with, Dr. Labos, and it shows the body and it shows the various systems. What happens to the body in extreme heat? How does it affect things, Dr. Labos?
Yeah, so what your body is trying to do is trying to maintain its core body temperature, obviously. And the way you do that is primarily by sweating. That is the main mechanism that we as humans have to maintain our body temperature. And so your body is going to start shunting blood to the skin as much as possible so that you can lose that heat and produce that sweat. And, initially, all that's going to happen is your skin might be a little bit redder. You might look a little bit more flushed. You're going to be sweating more. But as that starts to continue and get worse and worse, you start putting more and more strain on your system. Because you're shunting all the blood to your skin, you're not delivering it to your core body organs. And so at that point, to compensate, your heart rate starts to go up, your blood pressure starts to go up, you start getting more and more flushed, your skin might start to get irritated, you're going to be sweating more, obviously. And as you progress down that road, that's when things start to go wrong. If you don't have enough blood and you become dehydrated, then your kidneys start to shut down. Once your kidneys start shutting down, that's going to put even more strain on your heart. And as you get into the end stages of it and you start to develop the neurological manifestations where you're becoming confused and disoriented, that's what the term heat stroke means. A heat stroke is hyperthermia with the neurological complications that go with it.
So when we talk about dangerous heat, we talk about potentially deadly heat. We hear in your explanation and looking at that graphic, where it's affecting and to what degree it can be dangerous. Who's most vulnerable to all of this, Dr. Labos?
So people at the extremes of age, so the very, very young and the very, very old, for a very important reason, is they don't have a very good thirst reflex. They don't know to drink water to avoid dehydration. And it's a weird thing to hear, but as we get older, we don't sweat as much and we don't tend to drink in enough water to compensate for that. So the very, very old are the people who are at higher risk. Pregnant individuals, people with pre-existing medical problems are also have issues. The problem with being older is that you're often also on medications like diuretics, which can make dehydration worse. You probably have pre-existing heart condition, which can make the consequences of a heat stroke even worse. So there's a lot of things that can cause problems if you're young and healthy. But here's the thing, even if you're young and healthy, you can still have heat stroke. How many kids have been at school or playing sports that ended up developing heat stroke because they were out in the sun for too long running drills? So anybody's at risk, but the people with the pre-existing problems, especially at the extremes of age, they are at the most risk.
There's a piece online I might direct people to, Dr. Labos, anyone pregnant, the particular concerns, you mentioned them in passing there. Anyone who is pregnant, there are additional things to keep in mind. So that's on our website or on the CBC News app. So what are the symptoms to watch for at this time of heat dome before you get into trouble? What to keep an eye out for?
Ironically, it's the people next to you that are probably going to notice the symptoms before you do. So when you start off with the heat exhaustion symptoms before you progress to heat stroke, you're just going to be more short of breath. You maybe can't do the things you would normally do. You're going to feel more fatigued. And then as we get into the neurological symptoms, that's when you start to become a little bit more irritable, a little bit more disoriented. You maybe can't concentrate. And that's the sign. If you get to the point where you're feeling thirsty, that's obviously not bad. If you get to the point where you stop sweating, then that's a sign that you are very dehydrated. So those are the things that you want to watch for. But it's usually the people next to you that are going to say, hey, you know, Jim, you're not looking so good. Maybe you better get into the shade and drink some water. And you should listen to that advice because they probably see something that you yourself aren't able to appreciate because it can be so subtle.
So can you, what's your I'm going to promote this in just a second. We have a piece online, but your best advice, best ways to keep the body cool, help the body cope, Dr. Labos?
Stay inside where there's air conditioning or get to somewhere where there is air conditioning. Harder here in Montreal, Quebec because of the holiday, but go to like, you know, a library, a shopping mall, something. Stay cool. If you don't have air conditioning, get a fan. Just having a fan to blow air on you is going to make a difference, and drink plenty of water to stay hydrated. Those are the real basic things. Just stay out of the sun. Remember the old saying, only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the noonday sun.
I will remember that. Listen, you take your own advice today. You be careful there in Montreal, right in the thick of things. Thank you, Dr. Labos. Really appreciate it, as always. Now, I mentioned this piece of advice, this article taking a look at best ways to help your body cope in these extreme weather conditions. That's up on our website this morning and on the CBC News app.